Hello and welcome YouTubers, my name is Terry Elizabeth Ellington. If you are new here, hit the subscribe button. If you are not, welcome back. In my last video I cut my hair. I cut it short. Go check it out. Today I am here to talk about something that I mentioned in my last video because I left it on a cliffhanger. The title does say, I couldn't leave the house for almost 2 years. Anxiety and depression talk, and that is right. Today I am here to talk about the anxiety and depression that I had suffered when I was 16, 17, up until the age of what I am now, 21. In this video I'm going to talk about how it happened, what I suffered with, because there's many different types of anxiety that people can suffer with. The solutions, the remedies and all this sort of thing to help me get to where I am today talking to you. So if you would like to watch the video, keep watching. If not, bye I guess. I'm going to talk about when I was 16 and when it happened. So this is the first chapter of anxiety starting. I had a full-blown panic attack. If you haven't had one, they suck. If you have, I know, they suck. So here's what it is. Your whole body shakes, you can't breathe, you feel sick, feel like you're having a heart attack. You're not, you're just having a panic attack, but they are awful. So my dad went to the hospital with my brother and I was at home by myself. I had a panic attack. And I had to call the paramedics. By that time my dad had got back and the paramedics were on their way. I said to the paramedic, I'm having a heart attack. They said, no you're not, you are having a panic attack. And I said, no, I don't know what that is, but I'm having something. And she said, you're having a panic attack. I went to sleep, managed to get to sleep eventually. You know, they checked my heart, made sure I wasn't actually dying. And I woke up and I just had this fear, this awful fear that every day something bad was going to happen, because in your mind becomes like any other part in your body. You know, if you get a cold, it becomes ill, which people still to this day, they understand it more, but you know, your brain is just another organ. So it was what I call failing at the time. It took me a while though to understand like what was happening with my body and everything like that. And then so the next day I was just in constant fear, just constant fear all the time. I went to the shop and I found it so hard to leave the door. I was shaking again. I was like, oh my god, this is happening again. And my dad said, just get in the car. So I forced myself into the car, which probably didn't help the situation. I got to the shop, I developed, because through anxiety when you start out you develop new things that make you scared. So I developed this thing called sickness anxiety, because when I was in the shop I felt like I was going to be sick and I got this, oh my god, I'm going to embarrass myself. I'm literally about to embarrass myself. So through that I got an anxiety of being sick in public. So I stopped going to shops, I stopped leaving the house at that point. I literally raced to the car, got in the car, my dad took me home and that was it. So over the period of 16 I didn't leave my bed. It literally took everything I could to leave the bed, because I was just literally start to have panic attacks as soon as I would wake up. I then developed within the week, I then developed a separation anxiety, because one day there was just silence in the house, just dead. And I threw my blanket off and started screaming, Dad. My dad was downstairs, he was like, what's going on? And at that point, whenever I heard silence or whenever my dad wasn't around, I was starting to have separation anxiety from my dad, which I think comes from when I'm younger. So maybe I might talk about what I went through when I was younger once I have more confidence. But until then, it's a shush. Then about maybe 3 months after this, you know, once you've gone to the doctors and they try and tell you to go to cognitive behaviour and they try and tell you to go to counselling. Can't do that because I can't leave the house. Then fell one night really, really ill. I was having stomach cramps, and people who know that have kind of suffered from anxiety sometimes may get stressed where their stomach may hurt. So I looked online at some type of like food or remedies to kind of stop like my stomach, because I then gained another fear of taking any type of form of tablet. So I stopped taking paracetamol. Literally, even if I had the worst headache because of the stress and anxiety, I would literally just not take anything. I tried a fruit called prunes. I had eaten this from like a tin. It was like tin prunes. I was like, something feels weird, like am I having an allergic reaction? And I was, and my whole throat started to swell up. I started coming out in a rash. I started hyperventilating, so my dad raced me to the hospital. And then finally, when I was seen by a nurse, she says, "You're having a panic attack." I was like, "Not this again. I'm not having a panic attack. I'm genuinely having an allergic reaction." She said, "No, you're not. You're really not you're having a panic attack." I said, "But that doesn't make sense." She said, "Your body can produce certain, or you think in your mind that your body is producing a certain reaction to something to make you believe that something is happening." If that makes sense, which anxiety does make you do, because your brain overloads and starts to overthink. So I went home, went to bed, woke up the next day and had this anxiety about eating everything. I'm not going to hospital. I found it hard to leave the house. I thought I was dying. I'm now not eating anything. So for 3 weeks, I literally lived off beans and jacket potato. So I had like an eating disorder. I couldn't eat anything. I just ate that. So I had lost, because it happened when I was 16, I'd lost about 3 stone within two and a half months. Because obviously I didn't eat just beans and jacket potato for 2.5 months. I slowly every week started to add different foods, but it was very, very hard. It was like I was having like a banana and I was drinking just water, because I literally thought like if I drank pop I would have an allergic reaction. It messed with my head completely. By that time I was pretty slim, pretty skinny. Then kind of over 16 turning into 17, you know, you get used to your anxiety, you kind of know exactly what's gonna, you know, what triggers it, what doesn't. And mine was that my dad being out the house, eating anything that I wasn't used to eating, and that kind of thing. Another thing that I kind of developed when I was 17, I tried to go to college. I really did try to go to college. My dad even sat outside of the college for an entire day. And I had like helpers to try and get me in. And when I say like I couldn't almost leave the house for 2 years, I don't mean physically. Like I genuinely found it hard to leave the front door. Like literally walking out the door, I was shaking from head to toe. And sometimes even when I was out, I would literally scream to get back to the house, so my dad had no choice because of how ill I was. When I was at college, my mind and physically, I was like, I need to get back to the house. My house was like my safety net. So after that, I just stayed in all the time. My dad is a writer, so he works from home. So that was like the perfect opportunity, because, you know, my dad just went to the shop every now and then. And then it hit me that after I tried to go to college, I literally was like, that's it, I'm never leaving the house. So whenever my dad went out, like my nan and granddad would come and sit with me in my house. They're quite young, my nan and granddad, but like they would literally come and sit with me in the house because I didn't ever want to leave it. So that kind of went on for 2 years. You know, I'm not going to go on to like every single day, but every single day was a living nightmare. I stopped doing what normal people did. I stayed in bed, which is really depressing, because that's what I had. I had depression. I didn't understand. I felt completely alone. I had no friends, and I found it really hard. This is the part now of, well, how did you get to where you are today? When I was 18, again, kind of getting used to the anxiety, knowing what triggers it, what doesn't, getting there, I decided to, this is with kind of 17 turning 18, my birthday's in April, I got a puppy. I got a black German Shepherd, or Sheba, and I was in the back garden, so I started going in the garden more because I was training her. I was then taking her literally to the end of the street and back. I wasn't going further than that. That was as much as I could physically do. So my brother, you know, would take her for the longer walks and things like that. Then when I was 18, I went back to the doctors and I said, now I'm 18, I need something to help me. You know, they gave me a multiple different type of drugs, like prescripted drugs, and none of them worked. I tried herbal remedies, I tried listening to YouTube on cognitive behaviour, I tried everything, and I even tried hypnotherapy, and that did, I had a panic attack during the hypnotherapy. That's like, no good, don't try that route. This particular one helped me, and it was a prescribed medication called sertraline. I started off at 50 and I ended up on 150. Now, it helped me. It helped me as a person. Now this is how it helped me. When I was in bed, if there was silence, I was like, doesn't bother me. And that's when I knew it worked, because it literally was like, doesn't bother me if no one's in the house. And I was like, so that worked for me. Another thing that helped me was that I started to get driving lessons. Now I know a lot of people thinking, you can't leave the house, so why would you have driving lessons? The reason why was because in my mind, the separation anxiety was if I had a car and I could get home, or I could meet my dad, in my mind, that would work. The anxiety kind of shuffled away a little bit, and I started having driving lessons. And the driving instructor that I had, she was a female. She was really, really nice. She was really understanding. She didn't push me to do anything that, like, you know, I didn't want to do. So eventually I passed my test. Third time lucky. I got a car and I tried to get a part-time job, and I couldn't hold a part-time job down because the car didn't work as what I thought it would work, because I was still having anxiety and almost panic attacks getting into the car and driving. So I didn't do it anymore. So I was in a really, really bad state of depression, and my anxiety just decided to just reappear again. And that was it. I was stuck. But because I was on prescribed medication, it wasn't as bad. So I thought to myself, right, I am going to do something. I'm going to literally do something. When I was in bed, I would get up, make my bed, get back in again. Wake up, make my bed, get back in again. And I did that for a few days. And then I decided to make my bed, get up, go in the shower, go back to bed. And I did things like that every day. I saw my dog and she was looking at me, and I thought, I can't keep doing this. I can't keep doing this. Don't get me wrong, guys, it took me, you know, I'm 21 now, and I'm now working with animals. I'm now, you know, out and about. I'm doing this, I'm doing a YouTube channel, which a couple of years ago I would never have been able to do. But I will tell you one thing that I'm still not over, is I can't be in the house by myself. And this is 5 to 6 years later. Although it's still kind of a big thing, when I look back and think of all the things that I couldn't do, I can now go to a restaurant and pick a meal. I could literally be like, I'll eat anything. Because in my mind, I don't feel the anxiety that I did before, because I can now sit and say to myself, no, this is your mind being a bully. This is the only way that I can describe anxiety and depression, is that your mind becomes ill and becomes a bully on yourself. Don't be bullied. Don't do it. Don't be bullied. Don't get me wrong as well, I do get what I call glitches. Sometimes that bully comes back and goes, you can't do that, or you'll have a panic attack if you do that. And I have to say to myself, no, I won't. I have to almost talk to the other side of me, go, no, you won't, you will be fine. And that is it. This end part that I'm now talking about is if there's any type of person out there who suffers with anxiety or depression. Like me, I still do have social anxiety, but I found solutions so that I can go out. So I'm going to just name a list of the social anxiety that I have is, what if I'm sick? Yes, I still have that now. What if I am sick? 9 times out of 10, people, if you are sick, they're not going to point and like laugh. They might, depending if they're drunk or not, but they are not going to laugh. They are going to be like, oh my God, are you okay? So you've got to think that people are caring. There are more caring people than non-caring people. I also used to carry a bag. I don't so much now, but when I was starting to get out and about, I carried a paper bag. So that initial thing in my bag was like, I have a paper bag, or I would sit close to the toilets, or I would sit close to an exit. That might help, I don't know, but it helps me. Next one is leaving the house. If you have anxiety and you're like me and you physically find it hard to leave the house, it is going to be really, really hard. Really, it took me 2 years to physically be able to go open the door and walk out to the end of the drive without having a full-blown panic attack. It's going to be hard, but you have to think, is anything really gonna happen to me? Go out with people, don't go out on your own. Open the door and just stand there and just breathe the air, and then just close it behind you. And do that every day, and then when you realise nothing's gonna happen, you might move a step forward, and then a step forward, and then a step forward. You might be able to, you know, like me, get out and about. I hope that this video has helped. If you did watch my last video and you saw my hair, I mean, I've cut it a little bit shorter and kind of sorted it out just a little bit. But if you want, head over to my Instagram at Terry E. Ellington. You will be able to see the kind of hairstyles that I've done with it. Hit the subscription button, give a big thumbs up, and I hope you guys have a really nice weekend. Living it up. Partying. I'm not. I sit in and have pizza. So anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed the video.